Okay, so I want to make this video talking about more signs pointing to a potential volcanic eruption happening in the United States in the year 2023. Okay, because I made a video saying that there could be a volcanic eruption happening in October 2023, and I feel like these TV shows and movies sort of point to that. Okay, basically, there's this thing called predictive programming, which I really don't believe in. I believe that these artists, these writers, are typically more intuitive, so are sort of subconsciously predicting events. In that same way that they say that The Simpsons will sometimes make these accurate predictions, or how there was all these TV shows and movies about pandemics that were created and that were scheduled to come out during the pandemic, which, before we knew there was going to be a pandemic, which I believe was just being predictive. Okay, so the first sort of movie that stood out to me was this movie called Knowing. Okay, basically, it's this movie starring Nicolas Cage, and it's about this person who gets this piece of paper, and using it they start having all these different synchronicities and start making these predictions of these different events. Okay, and in this scene in the movie there is this window. Okay, and we can see it's basically this mountain that is on fire. Well, I believe this looks very similar to an annular eclipse, right? Because we see this window, it has this sort of, it's being illuminated by that fire, and it has this black circle and this sort of ring. Looks very similar. And that's what I based that sort of volcanic eruption video on. There's going to be this annular eclipse on October 14th, 2023. And it's going over this area that's been fairly active, right? These different protests, heat waves. There was even this sort of, earthquake, this Humboldt earthquake. And there's these different, volcanoes in this area. And I made these different connections as to why that could be, you know, eruptions connected with this eclipse. And then we have this sort of, similarity here. And I even noticed that this scene sort of happens just at the 46-minute mark. Okay. And when this person sort of first points to the window, and this is sort of a reoccurring number because there's this 46 north latitude, right? It goes through Russia, it goes through Ukraine, but it also, you know, it defines the border of Washington and Oregon. Okay. Um, so that's another sort of synchronicity right there. But also, right, it goes through this, so basically the same area. And there's also, Biden is the 46th president, and the numerology of it, 4 plus 6 is 10, which is Roman numeral X, right? And we've been making these different connections with that, right? You have these X eclipses, which this eclipse is going to be a part of. Okay, so I feel like those were very strong sort of um, synchronicities and vibes there. Then there's another TV show. This one is called Here and Now. It was on HBO, and it has sort of a similar premise where there is this person who starts seeing 1111 everywhere, and they start having all these different synchronicities and things like that. And there's this scene in the show where this person basically starts sort of hallucinating these people wearing masks. And again, this was created shortly before the pandemic, before the whole mask thing. So this seems like another sort of predictive, it has another predictive quality to it. And this is a bit of a spoiler, but basically at the end of the show, they this per, basically Mount Hood erupts at 11:11. Okay, the show is set in, I think, Oregon or Washington, but the volcano erupts at 11:11. So this person was having this sort of predictive, sort of premonition, hallucination thing. Okay, so you can see them covered in ash, but even though this is supposed to be volcano connected, it's still I still feel like there's that mask sort of connection there as well. And then it's just interesting to make a TV show about Mount Hood erupting when so many things are sort of, you know, pointing in that um, direction. Okay, so just a few more signs of this potential um, volcanic eruption in 2023.